Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back once again to the channel. Welcome, my friends, back to JJ's PC Build. You know what it is, JJ with you once again. And don't forget, if this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. And don't forget about the like button. And don't forget that if you don't turn on the notification bell, then YouTube won't turn it on for you. So make sure you turn on the notification bell if you want to keep up to date on all my new videos that are posted. So today we're going to take and do something a little bit different on graphics card nightmares right here on the channel. So what we're going to talk about that just came up, and we're not talking politics. Okay. We're not talking politics, but this is something that's going to affect the gaming community for a little while. And don't forget your drinking snacks, by the way, guys. That'll affect you too. So if this is your first time watching this, make sure you pause the video, go get your drink and snacks, then come back with your popcorn or whatever, and then continue with the video. So let's talk about the tariffs for today. This is what I gathered. This is the information I gathered up. So bear with me. I talk a little bit slow for the simple fact I do have brain injury. So you're going to have to deal with it. So this says what I put. The latest reciprocal tariffs announced by the United States impact several countries, particularly those involved in semiconductor trade. Some that will be affected, the nations that include China, Taiwan, Vietnam, India, European Union, South Korea, Japan, Cambodia. Did I say Japan? No, all right, Japan once. Madagascar, Sri Lanka, United Kingdom, and Brazil. You notice how I didn't put in Canada, because obviously Canada probably cut a deal. These tariffs are designed to match or counteract the rates imposed by these countries on the United States. So basically the tariffs that they have imposed onto the United States has decided to impose them back and match them close to equal. But from what I was watching yesterday, that it seems that the United States is being a little bit fair on the reciprocal tariffs. So basically, they cut them down to like a little bit below half. It's just an estimate, guys, but that's pretty much what it comes down to. So the semiconductor industry includes companies like NVIDIA and TSMC have already seen stock fluctuations due to these new trade policies. Yes, the tariffs will have a significant impact on U.S.-made computer chips. We know this. This is going to start in the beginning. So you got to get started somewhere, and this is the way it starts, and then we're going to see what the end game is. So, while the primary focus on these reciprocal tariffs is on imports, and they also affect American semiconductor manufacturers. One, it'll increase the cost for raw materials, competitive disadvantages, supply chain disruptions, and potential shift in manufacturing. So, the duration of these reciprocal tariffs are uncertain. They're expected to remain in place until the United States significantly reduces its trade imbalance, which was recorded at $1.2 trillion last year. The administration has not provided a specific timeline for lifting the tariffs, but given past trade disputes, they could last several years, unless negotiations lead to adjustment or removals. Some industries include semiconductors may face additional tariffs in the near future. Based on current discussions, and from what I heard, expert analysis, the reciprocal tariffs on computer chips are expected to last until 2026. So what I told everybody, give it 6 or 7 months from the date of the last new generation card that's been put out. So yeah, it's going to last up till spring of 2026. I kind of figured that, and I've said that before in many videos, how this is going to roll out. But do understand, NVIDIA did put out there, they say that the tariffs are not going to affect them. I guess they have a way around this. So The U.S. administration has indicated that negotiations and retaliatory measures will continue throughout 2025. We know this, with some countries pushing back against the tariffs. Analysts predict that the global economy could face long-term disruptions if these tariffs remain in place for more than 2 years. However, there are signs that some trade agreements may be renegotiated in the late 2025, probably around when it comes around Christmas time. You know they're going to negotiate because that's their moneymaker right there. They have no other choice but to negotiate, which could lead to adjustments or reductions in tariffs. The European Union and China, in particular, are expected to engage in intense negotiations to mitigate the impact on their industries. Yes, at minimum. The current tariffs are likely to stay in place until late 2025 or early 2026, depending on how the negotiations unfold. Trade disputes tend to evolve unpredictably, while some countries might push for adjustments sooner, just like Canada. They said what they're going to do is, from what I'm hearing, they're going to take and drop all the tariffs. So they're hoping the United States will fall right behind that and drop all the tariffs. But remember, those reciprocal tariffs are going to remain in place until the assurity for the United States is there. So don't expect them to totally go away unless they make a better deal to where they do go away. But time will tell. Major industry players, policymakers will likely ramp up discussions for the next 6 to 7 months, which I've been saying this, with the early indicators of potential tariff changes emerging around that time. So if Congress gets involved and Congress says, well, we're going to take and put a cap on the reciprocal tariffs, there's nothing the president can do at that point because Congress wrote it and that's enshrined into the Constitution. So there's not much they can do. So let's hope that the House and the Senate and the executive branch, they all play together nicely. So with early indicators of potential tariffs and changes emerging around the time, if talks stall, however, companies might need to embrace for more prolonged impact. Several countries have imposed tariffs on the United States goods in response to the recent trade policies. China imposed 34% trade on the U.S., European Union 20%, Canada and Mexico 25%, Vietnam 46%, India considering reducing tariffs on the United States right now. Imports that are worth over $23 billion, but still maintains the high yield that they're putting out there. France levied 50% tariffs on United States goods. France, supposed to be an allied partner. You think they would be smart and they would have dropped the tariffs. But the tariffs are ongoing. Trade negotiations and retaliatory measures won't be tolerated by the United States. Some countries like Israel and Vietnam have signaled potential tariff reductions on the United States imports. Based upon current projections, the trade war could persist well into 2026, as far as what some analysts are saying, and I tend to agree with it, suggesting it may extend beyond the negotiation stall. The OECD has warned that the tariff trade are weighing heavy on the global economy and the growth, particularly in the North America, and it could lead to prolonged economic uncertainty. Some countries like Canada and Mexico may resolve their disputes with the United States soon as they can. Hopefully they do. While the tensions with China are expected to last longer, because Xi Jinping ain't going to give up on anything, especially when they got that extra money and they're bleeding the United States to death. If the trade war escalates further to include the European Union, it could drag even longer, could drag on for years, potentially affecting the global markets and inflation. So if these reciprocal tariffs remain in place without renegotiation or policy shifts, the trade war could stretch for many of years. Historically, similar trade disputes lasted anywhere from 3 to 5 years, depending on the level of international cooperation and economic pressure. So, bottom line is this, guys. Bottom line is this, and I'm at the bottom line. If these go on, it could affect the gaming community for a long period of time. I'll put that over there. I don't need that now. Or it could affect the gaming community in a short period of time. But from what I'm seeing is that other countries are starting to lower their tariffs using common sense and bring it down to zero. And that's what Trump wants. He wants the trading between countries to basically the tariff war between countries to end for all countries, giving the manufacturers the freedom to, you know, compete against each other. The problem is if the governments keep stepping in, then what's going to happen is there's going to be no competition like there is now between AMD, NVIDIA, Intel, and all the rest of those companies. There's no competition. They're avoiding the competition right now. But if they bring the tariffs down to zero for all sides of the fields and get the government out of the way and let them, compete against one another, then what's going to happen is they're going to be competing for lower prices. Is because that's what people want, is lower prices. So this is the whole part of what Trump's trying to do. He's trying to bring back the competition because he sees that the competition it's failing. It's almost gone. You can believe me or not. You can watch the TV and follow up on it, but I'm going to tell you like this. If the government's trying to step out of the way and give companies free rein to compete with one another, which that's a good thing for the gamers. Instead of us paying these high prices, they'll compete for the lowest price. That's what we want. So that's just my 2 cents. I gave you 15 minutes of it. So now let's get into graphics card nightmares. So let me go ahead and just switch things around so we can go ahead and move you guys to the action screen. And here we are. Okay, now let's open up DuckDuckGo like I always do. And let's go ahead and just go and start with Amazon. Like this week, we're going to do the Amazon thing. And Amazon's not a sponsor of my channel, number one. I don't have any links from them. I don't have any affiliations or anything else. I do this for the gamers. I bring the information to the gamers. So I'm not getting paid nothing for this. Just to give you an insight of what's going on with me. It would be nice someday if they would send us free samples to help support the channel. That would be nice. So we hit the graphics card for gaming PCs and see what we got this week. Okay. $99.98. That's fluctuating in between $89 and $109. But that's an off-brand. A 580 and an off-brand, I had problems with their fans, so I'm not recommending them. So moving on. MSI, they got a 3060 for $380. I still think the 3060 should be less of a price. I still think it should be about $150 cheaper. I mean, look at this, a 6600, RX 6600 for $270, which they've been running for back last year. They were running for less than $200. So Not a smart choice right there for $270. Now it's affecting the lower end of PC building. So let's move on. $200 for a 3056 gigabyte. Wow. Unbelievable. Let's see. 3050, 96-bit, $190. No. Sorry, guys. Cards like this that should be below $150. 7800 XT, they got it for $620. A 7800 XT. Back in, what was it, September? It was $429. Now, forget it. This is going to go on for a little while, so do expect it. 3060 for 440. 3050, 200, 3060, 321. Crap card. Those might end up becoming a lifesaver if you ever need a quick card to get you by until after all this mess is over with. That might be what you might have to do, but I wouldn't recommend it. Yes, then $600. Wow. 3060, 5080 to almost $2,000. Almost $2,000. What makes no sense is because they got the 5080 for almost $2,000 here. But if you buy it used, you can get it for $1,770. So, what, less than 300, 200 bucks for used to new? Rip off. 5700 XT. Not this brand, but if you can get another brand for $210, that's not a bad card. It's not a bad card. That's just to get you by. Now, they got an RTX 5070 for $700. I paid for my 4070. I paid $600, but it got rebated down to $100. So I was lucky. 623 for a 4060 Ti, 8 gigabyte overclocked version. Are they expecting it to crap gold? I hope not. 2 gigabyte card, $45. 2 gigabytes. So if we were to take and do the math and pull up the calculator, I know how much you guys love the calculator. And I know you guys are going to say, well, Jay, you forgot the big cursor. Well, yeah, this week I did. So if you take $45, right, and divide that by 2. So you take 45 and divide that by 2. I know you don't need a calculator for this, but that's $22.50 a gigabyte for DDR3. And they're charging you $22.50 a gigabyte. So if you were to go and do the math on, let's say, the 5070, they're charging you $700, right? So you go $700 and you divide that by 12. If this is $22.50 a gigabyte, and this is $58.33 a gigabyte, what do you think is actually cheaper? Never thought about it? You better think now, because that's pretty much what you're paying for each gigabyte of VRAM. So, just to give you a clue on what you're paying for. So, we'll move the calculator out of the way. Let's see, what do we got for 289 here? 7,600 for $290. 8 gigabytes of VRAM. I don't know. People are starting to look away from the 8 gigabyte of VRAM. So, let's see. And not much else. So, they put all the crap at the bottom of the hill, and that's pretty much what Amazon's giving you. A bunch of crap at the bottom of the hill. So let's go to Newegg. There's no sense in me showing you guys the depressing moment of the 50 series and the 900 series. No sense in showing the dismemberment moment of that. So let's just show you what you can find right now. If it pops up, it pops up. It doesn't, it doesn't. Okay. You get Monster Hunter Wilds with the 7900 XT, 20 gigabytes of GDR6 VRAM. So, for $650. That's not bad. And get a free game with it for $650. That's actually a better deal than some of these new cards. And some of these new cards only give you 16 gigabytes of VRAM. This gives you 20. For the price, for 20 gigabytes of VRAM, let's pull up the calculator and see what we're looking at. Right here, this Sapphire. And by the time you guys see this video, and I hope you guys can get your hands on it from Newegg. So we take $650, right? $650. And we divide that by 20 gigabytes of VRAM. That's $32.50. And when the 5070 was $53 and some change. Big difference. This looks better than the 5070. So if you want price, that's how I'm looking at the price right now. So 5070 Ti, because if you do the 50, let's just do the 5070 Ti real quick. So 5070 Ti is $1,000, right? And that gives you 16 gigabytes of VRAM. You're paying $62.50 a gigabyte. Compared to up here where you're paying half that. So you're getting a better deal. Plus performance-wise, it's right up there with the 5070 Ti. So you're not losing anything. What are you really going to lose? If you're into ray tracing, this would be a hell of a monster card for you, and you get Monster Hunter Wilds with it. And that card's going to last you 5 years, especially at $650, because I paid $600 for mine and it's only got 12 gigabytes of VRAM. And this has got 20. I really kicked myself in the butt. I should have waited for this. This would have been perfect for me. It would be even more perfect as if it's an OC version at that price. But, let's move on. Let's see, 7800 XT, same price as a 7900 XT. Wow. Unbelievable. B580, I don't think I'll be paying that price. 3060, let's see, 5070, 7900 XTX, price is coming down. B580, that's about the lowest I've seen it so far, was $320. That's about the lowest I've seen it so far. I'm not trying to crap on you guys' parade, but I'm going to tell you, if you don't do your homework, you're going to get crap. And that's pretty much what you're going to get. You're going to get that graphics card home. You're going to try it out, and you paid like $1,500 for it, and you find out it's not working for you. Then you try to return it, and then the person that you bought it from, the company that you bought it from, the retailer, tells you to kiss their butt and have a nice day. Unless it's broken, you ain't bringing it back. Because I've been hearing that too. So think about it. 5070 at $700, and they're just raking in the cash right now. 451 for 4060. Wow. 7700, 6600. Let's see. 5070 Ti. And it needs to come down to $750. This $1,000 crap's got to go. It's too expensive. I do this day in and day out, guys. I do this day in and day out. And yes, I passed up that right here. I passed this up because a Founders Edition card for this price, when you could have bought it you could have bought it on day of launch for $1,600. You really think you want to pay $3,749? So if you go back to the calculator, okay, for their price, so you put $3,749 and you divide that by 24 gigabytes of VRAM. $156.20 per gigabyte. Now that 7900 XT looks a little bit more promising than this. And that's how much unless your performance is hitting that much, your price to performance is not hitting that much. So let's keep moving on down the road, guys, and see if we see anything that's going to jump out. The only thing I seen jump out was at $600 7900 XT. That's the only thing that jumped out at me. This doesn't jump out at me because really. What's B580 try? Does that mean you need to try it, buy it? Probably. expensive, too expensive. Let's see. The 4070 right here. They got it for $739. Now, let's go and hit down the road. Okay. So we got down towards the end. The best thing I saw when they had hit this for 400 or $739, which it's only for 550. You can go right back up and find it if I can find it. If I can find it. If I can find it. I mean, I'll find it. I'll find it. I mean, you guys get the point. That's 7,700. It's in there somewhere unless it disappeared. Right in front of us, right here. 7,900 XT with 100 wilds for $650. This is worth the price of admission compared to getting any of the others. So let's move on, guys. Let's move on there. Let's type in Micro Center. We're typed in Micro Center. Okay. Yeah, they got the 5090 and 5080 laptops. One of these days, I'm going to get into laptops, guys. You have to tell me where your interest is in laptops. Make sure you leave a comment down below on this video to let me know if I should start doing reviews or opinionating and whatever on laptops. Let me know what you think about it. And if that's something I need to add to the circus that we got going on so far, let me know. So let's type in graphics cards. Let's go there. Let's see what circus we got today. Anything of interest. 7,900 XT, $700, nothing comes with it. So the Newegg one was a lot better than that. 9070 for 609. That one is supposed to be for 550. So I don't know. $59 more. If the performance is right, maybe. Maybe. 5070 for 699. It's only got 12 gigabytes. I would stick with the 9070 XT. If you can get one at a decent price, then yeah, I would stick with that. It's just ridiculous. Some of these prices are just ridiculous this week. I mean, it's not Micro Center's fault. It's the AIB partners' fault because they're the ones that's slinging these prices and making these retailers pay this price. And then they got to shovel the cost onto the consumer. And from what I'm hearing that, Micro Center is having a hard time selling the 50 series is because of all the boo-boos that NVIDIA's been having over their software lately. It's either NVIDIA's having the problem or the game developers are having the problem. So it's one or the other. Who knows? Here's one deal that might be of interest. And with Micro Center, if you're going to see this menu, you're going to have to go inside of Micro Center to buy this stuff. This is not an online store. This is basically what they have on hand, supposedly in their store. Supposedly. So, but for $459, you got it's $80, $70 game. Take that off of that, and it's like $300 and some for a 7700 XT. That's not too bad. Okay, so you gotta remember, games, when you go to buy games on Steam and stuff, it's not physical. So they can turn that off at any time. It's not physical. Your graphics card is a physical entity. You have it in your hand. It's physical. Okay, as far as the internet, that's all mental. So you're paying for your mentality online. But the physical part, you're paying when you buy the parts. So And believe it or not, software is nothing but mental. It's all mental to me. Wow. 7800 XT with that, bringing that down to like 479, not bad. Not a bad deal. So far, I see maybe one or two good deals so far. But if you're not going to nitpick like me, then I would suggest you find something you're comfortable with when you go to buy whatever you're going to buy. Me, I wouldn't pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for a graphics card when you can get a graphics card that does the same thing. Just because it's last generation does not mean it doesn't game. And keep that in mind. Even 2, 3 generations ago, will still game. It's just how the game developers set everything up for that game. If there's one game you play and you need a specific graphics card for that game, but don't need it for anything else, then I can understand that. But you try to make it, and this is the way other reviewers say it, you try to make it as much multi-purpose as you can. So when you decide to go from one game to the next, at least you got the hardware to back it up. It's a little bit of push comes to shove. So you take everything on a graphics card and you ball it up, all them benchmarks into one, and you'll see the actual physical FPS off of a graphics card. I take everything that I gather on the internet, I ball it up into one just to see if that graphics card is going to be worth it or not. The 4070 was really tricky, especially with it only having one 8-pin connector. That was really tricky. And the 4070 doesn't have the 12-volt high power neither. And I know, Machine, you're going to say, well, Jay, you're mentioning it again. Yeah, I'm mentioning it again, believe it or not. But like I said, it is what it is. Is there anything in Micro Center that might be worth a value? Now, that is the ugliest damn card I've ever seen in my life. Sorry, guys. ASRock, you need to change the color of that card. You need to bring a different color for that card. I know it's just the fans that change the color, but it's nasty. And you got all these oddball cards, you get a B570 for 250. 3060 is still remaining stagnant at their price. Is there anything else that's worth the value? Well, close to MSRP, but it's gigabyte. So close to MSRP for a 5070. But you guys are going to say, well, I don't want no 5070. I'd rather have a 9070 XT. Well, you can get them right here at Micro Center. You'll spend $760. But something tells me there's something more to those 9000 series cards than AMD is telling everybody. Hidden power. Back years ago when we were, boosting graphics cards, we tried to get every bit of power we could, either by changing the firmware. You get somebody that'll hack the firmware and change the conditions of the firmware and stuff. And then you add it to the card, and then you're able to unlock more transistors than usual, and you can get a little bit more power out of them. But these companies got wise on it and they blocked it. They burned it off the board. Unless you go to strap the power, then you can trick the power, and get more power into your graphics card, but it's not wise. Strapping your graphics card is not wise. So, as far as me seeing anything, guys, I really don't see anything. At Micro Center, no way. So, I'm going to keep it simple and short. I told you guys about the tariffs. This is my conclusion. Told you guys about the tariffs. We had that talk about in the beginning. And in the middle, we've seen from these different retailers on their prices and everything else and what they're putting forth. Only reason I wasn't really showcasing the 9070 XT and the 9070 and the 50 series is because I feel somewhat that they're overpriced. Even though the tariffs are out there, these retailers got these graphics cards before the tariffs went into effect. And it didn't go into effect until midnight of last night or this morning. And even that, you got to wait about 15 to almost 30 days for it actually to take hold. So the scare tactic of telling everybody, oh, this is a bad thing. Oh, this is a bad, it hasn't even kicked in yet. It's kicked in, but it hasn't kicked in. There's still a matter of policies and everything that go through the chain before it actually kicks in. So usually after they say it goes into effect immediately, usually it's going to take between 1 to 2 weeks. So all this price gouging that I've been watching that these retailers been doing is they've been letting everybody go hog wild. Knowing that what they did was before the tariffs came into play, they've been stockpiling their warehouses right and left. For this reason, this is going to become the biggest cash grab in the United States of America. And they've been stockpiling since January of last year on tons of stock. And then they're going to shove it in your face with a higher price, and they're going to say you're going to have to eat it because they'll blame it on the tariffs. But they're not telling you that they're buying it at an extra low price, especially when they're buying it by bulk. So I can tell you right now, these companies are not being honest. And I don't care what they say. I mean, they either come out and tell the truth, or people are going to find out and they're just going to advertise it all over the place. But I'm telling you guys, these companies got smart. They knew this was all coming about. So they stockpiled like crazy for almost a whole year. Almost a whole year. They got warehouses that are just filled with stuff. I mean, filled. So, and how I know this? Well, the news broke back last year around January. If they took it down, they might have took it down by now, but the news broke. I caught on to it. I'm like, holy crap, they're going to overstock a lot of stock. And then everything started to build up to the election time, and they just kept stockpiling. So this has been going on for many of months. If they tell you they're out of something, they're not. If they tell you they got to wait for a new shipment, they don't. They have everything right here that they need in the United States. That's going to last them the next 2 years. That's going to last their companies in the next 2 years. That's going to be very profitable, and they're going to make a ton of money. But anyway, I said my 2 cents, and I hope you understand where I'm coming from so you can see, and I'm trying to protect the consumer from being ripped off. And this is going to become the biggest cash grab in U.S. history. Nobody sees this coming, but these retailers do, and they know what they're doing. So they already got their hooks into everybody. They already got their hooks into your wallet. They're waiting for you to start spending. They're waiting for your tax refunds to come back. They're waiting for a lot of things. They're waiting for the prices to go down on gas. Once they see energy and gas prices going down, their prices are going to go up. And then they're going to blame it on the tariffs, which they already had the stockpile in their warehouses before the tariffs. So don't believe everything you hear, because it's not true. But anyway, that's my 2 cents, guys. I laid it on the table for you. I hope you spread this video around. Tell everybody, hey, this is what's going on, and here's the truth in the matter. I'm not going to put this information out if I didn't feel it was true. I got a good feeling that, I'm pretty much right every time when it comes to the information. So it's coming. It's coming. So remember, don't get screwed by these retailers. If they're trying to sell it for a high price, don't buy it. Until that price comes down, be the person that waits until the price comes down to a reasonable price, then buy it. Just my 2 cents to you. And do your homework. For God's sake, do your homework. when you're going shopping, do more than one site. Do like 10 of them. Check through 10 of them on the specific items you want to buy. At least competition will be there. If these retailers want to stay in competition with each other, then they're going to be looking to see who has the lowest prices. So just a little bit of ingenuity that I'm giving the retailers. If you want to stay in business, then you better lower your prices, because people are starting to look for the lowest price available. And that's what it comes down to. So, but anyway, if you made it to the end of the video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Don't forget about the notification bell, notification bell, so you know when I post the next video. Until the next time. Wait a minute. Until the next time in the next video, you know what it is, and we'll see you the next one.